Well, good Sunday morning, everyone. It's Ed Texas Takes, and it is 10:30 Eastern Time, Sunday, the 17th of September, 2023. I am on a little road trip going through Nashville, Tennessee, and stopped at my brother's house last night. And I thought we would swing over here to the Lane Motor Museum in Nashville. So I thought I'd bring y'all along. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Rob Fuzz, hello, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Hey, Zip, good morning to you. So we're gonna take a look. Actually, I just ran into Jeff. He's the owner, Jeff Lane. He's here today too. Maybe we'll get to say hello to him. But I just ran into him outside here. And quite a bit of traffic's come in. We have some Sunbeams, and in back a bunch of Subarus, so a couple of car clubs showed up here today. Everything's going. And you come in, it's $12 to get in. Little gift shop. But he has quite a unique collection, and it gets changed out quite frequently. I was just watching last night a video. It was Wayne Carini with Chasing Classic Cars, and he was here with Jeff looking at some of the small cars. One of them I'll show you here in a minute. But it's quite a neat collection. This is an old bread factory, and if you look around, I'll try to find some of the pictures of when it was in operation. But it is an old bread factory converted into this auto museum. A lot of natural light in here, and the offices are up here. You can see kind of a neat way to convert something and give it a new life, and a museum is a perfect place. A lot of natural light here. Weather's here beautiful. It's so different than Texas, where we've been so dry, and now we're getting rain finally there. But let's take a look at something. He's got some really neat micro cars in here that you'll never see hardly. If the chat stops, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my extra phone to read chat, but Prism tends to drop chat. Maybe I can get my brother here to pull up the YouTube video and he can look at the chat for me. Mark, can you pull up Texas Takes and read the chat? The chat normally on Prism seems to drop, so people are talking and I'm not responding. I normally carry two phones. Thank you. All right, look at this little Honda. Remember when they were so small? Now they're such big luxury cars that they make, and such a big company. But early days in the States, in the 70s, they were popular because our cars were so bad on gas mileage, and these little things did so well. Yeah, 31 horsepower. Top speed 65. Wow. Amazing. That's something you'd see around a university. Walker power truck. And I think everybody here knows what this is. Beautiful Volkswagen. I love the air conditioner here. Thermador, car cooler. I don't know if you put ice in there or what. Nice little kickback roof there. Beautiful little car. I've always wanted one of these Volkswagens. Oval window in the back. But never had one. But they are neat little cars. Little Austin here. These are just things you don't see every day, right? This Lotus, a couple of them here. Quite a unique collection. You never saw that, Rob? Those are, yeah, I've seen them on 50s cars, and then I don't know if you put ice in them. I'll ask my brother. He's coming up here. He would probably know better than I would. I know Lane's daily driver's a Lotus as well. This is a neat, very unique museum. Let's see, what do we have here? It looks like an area that they work on the vehicles. Everything, by the way, in here is tagged pretty much and able to drive. Now, obviously this car to my right isn't. There's a concept car that they're fixing up. I can't remember the name of that car, but I've seen it in videos before. Texas Takes. Are you on YouTube? Search channels. No, go to YouTube. You're in Safari. Go to YouTube.
Just YouTube regular, not TV, right?
Yeah, regular, not YouTube TV. I'll be right with you. Search Texas Takes. You're not even subscribed to me? What in the world's going on with this world? You know, when you have family, that's not takeover. Just Texas Takes right there. Your system sure is slow. Right there. Okay, there I'm live. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna turn the volume down. A new subscriber, yeah, right, Rob? I gotta get my own brother to subscribe. All right, bear with me, thank you. He's got it up now. That's an interesting vehicle. Obviously, this one does not run. Concern for safety. Walter Jerome created survival. Promote his idea of automotive safety. 6-door sedan. Oh, Commodore 6, 4-door sedan. I can't read very well, can I? Well, that's interesting. So the front end, I guess, steers separately from the vehicle. Yep. Mounted on a pivot in the middle there. Well, can't say I've seen one of those before. Now here's a neat idea. Think about this. Talk about your ultimate hair dryer here. Let's just put a prop on the front and see if it'll go that way. That's pretty neat. So your drivetrain is air. Pivot. Yes. Hi, Alyssa. Good to see you. Welcome. It's good to have you here. We're at Nashville, Tennessee, at the Lanes Motor Museum. I was going to say transportation. This is back side of it. A lot of room in here. Good use for an old bread factory. We'll just take a little walk around here. I love those wooden boats up there. Just the detail, that's an art. It really is, to mold wood and transform it into something like that that's useful and yet beautiful at the same time. Can you drive a fan car over a swamp? Yeah, that's what they use in swamps, so you don't have your motor get all caught up in the weeds. That car, though, is not going to float. I think you'd be at the bottom of the swamp, Rob. But it is really pretty. I guess it really wasn't very practical, though. It looks tiny. Is that the fan car? Okay, let's take a look here. These little Citroen CVs, if you've ever seen these, the suspension is so unique on these cars. They were cheap cars, very cheap. They're very thin metal, but very popular. This is a French car, and they just can't touch it. I'd show you how it rocks, but in that shifter, you can't see it on the other side of the wheel, but it moves forward and backward. It's quite unique. There's plenty of other videos about it. This car, what's interesting about this car, I believe the fuel system was unique. Gasoline was scarce. This car was fueled by wood or coal. So the containers on the front fenders are filled with coal and ignited, and in a half an hour, methane gas would condense and go to the cylinders to feed the carburetor and make it run. So you gotta, it's kind of like firing up the old charcoal grill. You got about a half hour before you can take a drive in that car. But yeah, gas was scarce. Now, Saabs, this is something from my wife's family, a lot of history working with Saab. Early cars, they had a little V4 Ford in some of them. But they were also a safe car, Swedish company. Unfortunately, after the GM They eventually went out of business, so can't buy a new Saab anymore. But very safe cars. They were big on safety, and the reason they're kind of flat like this is so the snow, you could open your door and the snow wouldn't fall on your car, and even the newer ones were like that. Burgers on the car. I didn't see burgers on the car. I didn't catch up with the chat. Yeah, it looks tiny from the front, but it is a pretty big building. It's really nice in here. A lot of European cars. An early Fiat. It kind of reminds me of the Yugo. And if y'all remember the Yugo, it was like $4,000 or $5,000 when it was 86. Some of your Ford dealers would sell them. They were the cheapest car you could buy, very boxy like this. You could tell it was a Fiat because the spare tire would be mounted right up in here on top of the engine. Very much like a Fiat. Well, it was built pretty much off the Fiat platform. Alfa Romeos, I always thought those were very, very sleek looking cars, Italian built. Just some neat cars in here. The Fiat X19, when I was a kid, that was a cool car. And because it is a mid-engine back here, they really are great with autocrossing. They just have a nice center of balance. I mean, I'll talk cars all day long. I love cars, as you all know. Looking forward to getting back into our normal Disney routine, though. We'll be there next week, staying at Pagosa Springs. I'm looking forward to that. I have some family with us again. Here's an Alfa Romeo you don't see every day. It looks fairly new in just the design. Let's see what year it is. That's an 81. So I bet it has that typical 80s interior. Well, I don't see a steering wheel like that every day, do you? Hit and miss engine. He's powered a lot of things, like even out, you'll see him out in the fields. Some of them still active today, pumping oil out of the ground, and they would have a jacket of water on top, and then just because of the big flywheels, it doesn't have to fire every single time. It'd fire, and as it starts to slow down, fire again. That's why they call it hit and miss. There's a big military vehicle. There's a whole story about them bringing it into Nashville out back. I'll show you. It's massive. They had to close down some streets to get it here. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but it's definitely like a big landing craft that could carry tanks and things of that nature onto shore. We'll take a walk back here. There are also some gliders and planes hanging from the ceiling. I'll try to make sure I point out. But yeah, if I was going to get another unique car next to the Model T in the shop, this Citroen CV would be a neat one because it's just so utilitarian. Look at those windows. Stamped steel. Very inexpensive to build. Kind of the same, similar to a Volkswagen on the French side, a French Volkswagen, if you will. The old MGTDs. They look older than they are. I think this is like a 50s car. But it's just so sleek looking with the spoked wheels. It's a beautiful little car. Yeah, this is a 54. It's not a TD, it's a TF. I love the octagonal gauges. That's kind of unique. And that big band, looks like a banjo steering wheel. A pretty car. Lost my brother. So if there's chat, just let me know. Try it. If I don't see it, I apologize. It does drop off on Prism, so it's not intentional. Another MG. And a 55. My brother had this motorcycle, GSXR. Fast bike. Very good inline 4 engine in it. Well, that would be fun to drive. And that's more like a go-kart, isn't it? But like I said, all of his vehicles are licensed, and every one of these you can take out, well, I couldn't, he can. Take it out and drive it. He makes sure they're maintained to a level that every one of these can be driven. He just really has some unique microcars, right? 1956 Berline from France. Mid-engine, rear-wheel drive. 8 horsepower. I have more than that on my little Cub Cadet riding mower. Seriously. Now, this would be quite a chore to ride, I would think. Look at this bicycle. It's all wood. Except I shouldn't say all wood. It's the all wood wheels. The frame, big heavy steel frame. I wonder what it weighs, but can you imagine trying to pump this thing up a hill? Especially with this leather, it's like a leather banded belt on it. And I'm not sure, maybe this is making it adjustable for riders, reduce the height. I don't know, that's kind of unique. More microcars. Like I said, Jeff has probably the biggest collection of microcars. This is, it looks like it's amphibious, or in other words, can go in the water. It definitely looks like a little boat. Actually, it looks like a little frog, doesn't it? Wow. I'll take this on Splash Mountain. Seab Flipper. Yeah, it is from France, front engine. Plastics used from a Citroen. Yeah, I'd have to read it in detail and I don't want to bore you too long. But it does go in the water. And wonder where they got this little turn signal. I've seen those lights before. Pretty little car, 56, and this is from Germany. It just says SLC, excuse me, K200, a little Renault. Boy, Europeans sure like their small cars. At least they sure produced a bunch of different variants, didn't they? And pretty car. This one's kind of eye-catching. Renee Bonnet. And it's a pretty little car. Look at this. This is from France as well.
Kevin there?
Yeah?
He's about to, in 10 minutes, he's going to fire up the air car. He said
Where's Kevin?
He's right there in the blue shirt.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's going to fire up that car there.
Okay, great. Good. You still got the chat up?
Yeah.
Is there anything? Mine's blank. It blanks out after a couple minutes, so I didn't know if I've lost anybody. All right, so the propeller car. What's what? Rob? Okay. Rob, Kevin here is going to fire up the prop car in just a few minutes, so we'll get to see that on the video. If you're still there. That'll be neat to see. Maybe we'll stand behind it. Is this Kevin right here?
Kevin
Nope.
is...
No, that's not Kevin.
No, Kevin is...
I want to see that.
He's right there. He's down there. See?
Okay, so he's not doing it yet.
Gathering up. We said 10 minutes.
Okay.
We said do it at 11 o'clock.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll come back at 11 o'clock and watch that. And your typical minivan, a Renault. You see, this museum has a little bit of everything, right? But this is not your typical minivan. Look how it looks expansive in there. That's a 2003 Adventime. Double hinge doors. That is a big door. Look how big that door is, Mark.
That's awesome.
Massive is right. Sorry if I'm moving around too fast. Look at the back of these. Holy cow. Very flat. They're Citroens. Look at that steering wheel. Single spoke. Wow. Same with this one. Oh, but you got your ashtray. You know, in France, you gotta have your ashtray. $75, okay. And they look just as unique in the front as they do in the rear. If there's a car you want to see up close, particularly, let me know. Now, the Isetta. I know this car right away. I like BMWs, always have. Obviously, the roundel is indication of their aviation heritage, as well as motorcycles. But the Isetta is a neat little car. You get in from here, here's your door handle, and this opens up. So you can park and have two cars right on the sides, and you don't have to worry about opening the doors. But this is a 4-passenger, where normally you see the 2. So it's a bigger one. So that's unique. And more of the micro cars here. The Crosley, obviously that's a well-known name. This one is from Great Britain. Scooter car, can't say I've seen that. I think I saw on Top Gear them driving that through an office area. I don't know if it was Jeremy or who it was at the time. And a Spatz. Who makes a Spatz? That is made in Germany. Okay. All right, we'll take a walk back this way. Actually, there's motorcycle. We did. Oh, I'm sorry. Squirrel. I went the wrong way. Another amphibious vehicle, obviously. Look how that thing tilts, though. So it's actually jointed in the middle. A 78 Croco. That looks military, doesn't it? Very utilitarian dash. You just have what you need. Seats look comfortable. But yeah, it's mounted in the center. So it does articulate quite well. That's just a pretty car. I don't know what you think about the mirrors on the ends of the hood, though. It's neat looking. Definitely got that 70s look of the vinyl roof. It is a 70 Mazda. Hi, Kay. Good to see you today. Thanks for stopping by. It's been too long, Kay. And I know I haven't been live in a long time either. Well, that's a pretty Mazda. And look at the Mazda emblem back then. It's okay, just to catch up, we're at the Lane Transportation Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. Jeff Lane, he has quite a unique collection of cars. A lot of these are micro cars. They're just unique. Cars you typically don't see very often. Like this Mazda. Loose. Oh, and it's a rotary engine. The rotary is such a neat concept. The only bad thing is they tend to burn oil after a little while, just naturally by the way they're built. But I love that interior. So I just happened to be passing through Memphis on a little road trip. And so I thought I'd stop by here. I've seen this place on TV before. I actually saw a video with Jeff Lane and Wayne Carini from Chasing Classic Cars. I'll show you the cars that they were, actually they're right up here, that were featured in that video. This is a pretty car, obviously European, I think. Okay, hope you're doing well. Go to the Volkswagen Bug. Oh, okay, they have a beautiful one here. I was just talking about that, the fact I've always wanted one and never did get one. There's a rotary motorcycle. It's one of those that has the oval window, which I really like. And the really tiny rear tail lights. You know, the Volkswagen body always seems to stay the same. It's a BMW, one that you don't see very often. Let me see what year this is. That's a pretty little car, isn't it? Oh wow, look at the room in the floor. You don't have a transmission tunnel. So it must be a front wheel drive. 1960 Sport Coupe. Yeah. Top speed 77. But okay, here's your car. She's pretty too. Nice, rich black, deep gloss paint with tiny tail lights. cute bumpers. I even love the white walls. A pretty little car. And the oval window. So this, I love the teardrop look that you get on the older ones on the engine cover. It's a 56. Oh, okay. We'll come back to this. And it does have air conditioning. They're gonna fire up the propeller car, so we're gonna go back there real quick. We can come back to that. So we have the prop car we just went by. 63, that's still, yeah, that's, I like those before they got to the emissions, like the 74s with the big tail lights and the turn signals. So anyway, he's gonna start the propeller car. Quite a bit of folks were anxious to see that. Can you imagine going by air? I'm gonna make it bigger here. Now imagine you're sitting behind that wind. It does have a small windshield.
I think almost everyone in the museum is here, which is good. So we'll go ahead and start the demo.
Got the wheel chocks on it.
Usually Sunday mornings are very calm, which they're my favorite mornings in the museum. So welcome to Lane Motor Museum. My name is Kevin. I'm going to be demoing the Helicron, which is sitting right here. You already saw a brief preview of it. But if you guys want to, you guys can actually step closer right now as I talk about it, and I'll have you guys step back a little bit when I start it up. But I want to show you guys a few things about this vehicle and show off one of our most unique vehicles in our collection. So this is our 1932 Helicron. This is a one-off car that was pulled out of a barn in France. We actually don't know who built it. We have theories on how it was built and why it was built, but there's nothing really concrete or solid proof yet that we've discovered. Because in France, a lot of inventors, they were creating their own cars and they were making things out of aircraft components, motorcycle components, tractor components, whatever they could find. And so this is one of the cars that came about from that period of innovation in France during the 30s. And so this car, we believe, actually was originally a Rosengard car chassis that was flipped backwards. So you guys can't really see it yet, but if you guys want to walk around the side of it, you'll see in the front here, there are these axle hoops. And then, if you look back when I turn the wheel, look at the rear wheels, it's rear steer. This thing is like driving a really big forklift. It's a very obnoxious forklift to drive as well. Some fun things about this vehicle, though, is that this vehicle is pretty much how it originally was built. We've only done a few things to it when we acquired the vehicle. The bodywork, you'll see that there's fiberglass over the woodwork here. That was not done by us originally. But in terms of the metal work and the cowl and everything, we had to flare this out because the original motor was lost in this vehicle in France. We don't know what it exactly was. We have ideas what it was, but in order to get this vehicle moving again, we put a 1980 Citroen GS motor in here, and then we flared out the cowl a bit, and then we added blue paint to this vehicle. This ring right here is original wood, which is pretty impressive to have this curved laminated wood in the 30s. That's a pretty impressive feat. We did replace the blade as well. There used to be a 4-prop blade that wasn't very efficient. We replaced it to a 2-prop blade. But the reason why this vehicle exists and why people were thinking about basically making planes without wings to drive around is the idea was that if you attach a propeller blade to the crank of your engine, you have a lot less moving components, a lot less things to do maintenance on. So you don't have a transmission, you don't have a drive shaft, you don't have a rear end. You just have one source of power that moves, and that's it. And these vehicles, it's a really good example of a lot of vehicles we have in our collection here where it's a good idea in theory, but in reality, when you're actually using it, it's kind of terrible and awful. This vehicle, it makes a ton of noise, and it doesn't go anywhere fast at all. It usually depends on what sort of elevation you're at, or what sort of angle your road is at, I should say. This vehicle, believe it or not, is road legal here in the States and in France. It is road legal here. In fact, there are some event days in the spring and the fall when it's cooler. We actually do offer rides in this vehicle around the block. But driving this vehicle is a lot different than driving your car. Normally when you're driving your car, you're sitting at a stoplight. When the light turns green and you want to go, you press the gas pedal slightly. You don't fully mash the pedal down and then go. You kind of press the pedal, and then as you want to go faster, you put more throttle into it. This is the exact opposite. When you're at the light, you want to put this thing down at full throttle, and then you want to coast down to the speed you want to be at. It's kind of a weird song and dance. That also leads to a weird thing about the construction of this vehicle. You'll see right here, you might have noticed when I started this up, the throttle is right here. This handbrake used to not be on this vehicle. We actually installed this handbrake here ourselves because this vehicle is so inefficient at going up hills. The thinking is that the reason why it's an outboard throttle is if you're going towards a hill and you don't have enough speed already, you have to put this thing at full throttle, then you have to jump outside the vehicle and then push it up the hill, and then you have to jump back in the vehicle before it takes off without you and becomes a fully open-bladed autonomous vehicle. These vehicles became nicknamed the chicken mulchers in France, for obvious reasons you'll see in just a moment. But yeah, this is our 93 Helicron. So for the demo, I'm going to fire it up. I'm going to do a couple phases of it. So I'm going to fire up, let it idle for just a second, and then I'm going to rev it to about 10 to 15%, and then after that I'm going to rev it to about 50%. It'll be very loud at 50%. You guys can step back a little bit, but once you guys get a feel for how loud it is, then you guys can come closer and get as close as you want, except for the blade here. Don't get in front of the blade at all, please. But when it's loud, or when it's revved up, what I'm gonna have you guys do too is once it's revved up, you guys can walk around the back of it and feel the wind off this thing. It makes a ton of wind, which is where this visor comes into play here. We installed a much bigger visor because when you're driving this on the road, this thing is like a salad shooter. Just things, any type of thing, rocks, leaves, grass, whatever it may be, chickens. If it goes through here, it gets launched right at you. There's actually a very funny video of us on our YouTube page where we actually have one of our museum staff throwing hot dogs into this, showing what happens when a hot dog goes into this blade while it's going at idle. So you can find that on our YouTube page. Just look up Helicron Lane Mud Museum. But yeah, I'm gonna start it up. I'm gonna let it idle for a second, and then after that, I'm gonna go through steps of revving it and let you guys see how bizarre this thing is.
All right. So this is going to be interesting. Jump engine noise and prop noise, so two different noises.
As it's idling, I want you guys to think, when I rev it up, I want you to imagine if this technology was in all of our cars today. And think about if you were on downtown Nashville right now and every car was propeller powered, how loud downtown Nashville will be. So this will be about 10 to 15% throttle. That's not too loud. It'll get much louder in a minute. I'll bump it up to about 20 right now. So again, that was 20. So I'm gonna flip it up to 50 now, where it'll be as loud as we never go past 50 when we're sitting idle because it puts a lot of stress on the crank. We don't want to stress the motor out too much. But once I hit 50, if you're comfortable with how loud it is, I encourage you to walk around behind it. I'll hit 50 a few times. You let you guys feel the wind off it. It's pretty loud. It's also
we'll definitely do that, of course. It's like going in the airplane. Right behind it. breeze right here.
I'll do it a little bit longer that time too. Just a little warning for you guys, please don't stand behind the exhaust directly, because this is an older vehicle. It may backfire a little bit, so it may pop at you. There have been a lot of kids who have not listened to me, and I've warned them, don't stand back there, and then
the light
hear that
swinging.
red shot and run off. That's a fair warning.
Yeah. Cool. Literally cool. Yeah, it's like being behind the Cessna.
It sounds like an army of lawnmowers on the road. It is extremely loud. But yeah, there you go. So, of course, you guys are very welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hope you guys enjoyed seeing this. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day here. I'll see a few of you guys for the vault tour in a little bit. But for everybody else, thank you so much for joining. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. All right. That was unique. Very windy. What is that, Mark? Some kind of autocross or a rally car? That kind of unique.
It's got a, it's like a V6 in it.
I was showing Kay her Volkswagen. We'll go back over there and then we'll continue on. There's still several unique cars to see here. Well, obviously. There's some outside too. And then of course that big landing craft out back. We'll walk outside and take a look at that. But like I said, there's more cars than this. He changes out what's presented. This is called an auto union. And another auto union, which is, everybody know what auto union is? Well, I guess this will give it away. Auto union's Audi. A little tidbit there. But this one's heavily optioned out. Like I said, it has the air conditioner, thermal dual car cooler, blowing warm air over moist air in order to make a cool place. Okay. Wrapper. Inside, the metal tube is a fabric blanket on spring-mounted rollers, 1 gallon of water reservoir. Pull the string inside the passenger compartment, the blanket rolls into the water and then back into the airflow. And as long as the car's moving, humidity is low enough, cooling happens. Like licking your finger and blowing on it. Makes sense. Made in LA, California. This is a pretty example of a Volkswagen. It has the kind of like the little light bulbs in front of the headlights, kind of like DRLs almost. And it does have turn signals. This one doesn't have the semaphores, which pop out. You'll see some of that too. But it's just perfectly restored. Beautiful example. Yeah, so many European cars, I'm sure. Oh, the car next to it has semaphores. So here it is. When you turn, this little thing kicks out and a little indicator. Sometimes it's just orange and sometimes there's a light there. Very common on cars from Europe. We'll go back this way. Another Honda. Quite different, but gosh, I date myself. I remember when these were new, coming into the US. There's a newer one. It almost has its own character. Not sure what this is. Almost looks like a steam car. 1909. Might be electric. You know, You know, there was actually electric. It was popular before combustion engines, but the battery technology back then wasn't as good. But they actually had electric cars first, well before. When, Mark, do you know when the first electric cars really came into being? In the early 1900s?
1898.
1898?
The first Baker Electric.
Baker Electric. Look at this thing. That thing's got to be very aerodynamic. Hey, one thing I haven't introduced, this is my brother Mark. So that's the other Ed. He's my younger brother, and he's the one that lives here in Nashville. He's a car nut just like me. Believe it or not, right? Look at these Subarus. Oh my goodness. So if you're on the replay, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy this video of the Lane Motor Museum. There's a Tatra. Is this a, it's got a spigot on the front. Is this a steam car? Let's see. No, just air-cooled engine. Okay. I don't see any chat anymore. The Subarus. Okay. Another Citroen. Parts of the factory. Did I miss anything? Oh, you're welcome, Kay. Yeah, good. Yours wasn't that fancy? Kay says hello.
Hey.
Yeah, my chat did drop off on my phone. Another Tatra. This is not the most attractive looking car, Mark. What do you think? I mean, it's pretty boxy.
Rear engine.
Rear engine?
Rear engine V8.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look at this dash on this thing. Who makes Tatra? Well, yeah. I mean, where's it? What country? Czechoslovakia.
There's a lot. All these are Tatras.
The whole circle?
Yeah. These are all Tatras.
Wow. And that's a 96. Well, you can't say I've seen one of these every day. Wow. Window shades.
V8.
Look at the rear end of that one. V8's in the back.
V8 in the back. Air-cooled.
Air-cooled V8. How do you air-cool something as big as a V8? Well, I can see the scoops back here. That's a 1950.
This one's a 4-cylinder. That's the V8.
Get this, it only had V8, but it's only 52 horsepower. Wow. Definitely has the Art Deco going on there in the dash. All right, the car that we saw Jeff Lane, who owns this museum. And Wayne Carini, if you know Wayne Carini from Chasing Classic Cars, it's History Discovery Channel, but they were actually talking about this car, and it's here now. It's kind of a combination. Mark will remember the combination, but it's a center drive car, and it actually steers with a bicycle chain, and it's kind of these are Pontiac headlamps. So folks that know Pontiacs are familiar with what that looks like. It just is a combination of different cars put together to make this Futura. These are Cadillac tail lamps. But it was, I was actually watching that video last night. Uh-oh, looks like at least on here, it's hung up on Mark's phone. I don't know if the live stream. Oh yeah, it's hung up on Mark's phone. Okay. So that was in Chasing Classic Cars. And then Wayne Carini drove this car too. What's unique about this car, this gyroscope that it has right here. You see this big thing? This car, when this gyroscope is spinning, kind of like one of those Segways, that's what it is. This gyroscope spins And once it's going, they hit something and the wheels kick up and it sits on the two wheels perfectly level with the gyroscope running. And then you get in the car and drive it. So they showed this on that video as well, Wayne Carini driving this. And of course it has wheels just in case you go over too far here to keep it from hitting the ground. But yeah, that's quite a unique ride. Can you imagine sitting there knowing you're on two wheels and the gyroscope spinning is keeping you upright? A neat concept, not practical. Oh, they even have a video here about it.
Additionally, there are many conditions where the imbalance is continuous, like a continuous side wind. Here, it is demonstrated that because of a force acting on either side where the force remains, a new point of balance is established, and the flywheel assumes a position of constant precession.
Constantly keeps itself level. More small cars. This is the land of the micro car. If you're talking about this one, Kate, it actually, yeah, they do drive it around. Like I said, all these cars run and drive. Is it practical? No, probably not. That's where it crosses that line, right? But more small, nice. He has a nice kids area up there. It's just a well done little museum. Well, she's not the prettiest thing, is she? But I bet she gets you where you want to go in a very unique style. It looks like a stainless steel too. 1955 Bradshaw from Great Britain. All right, now, if you want to talk about uniquely skinned car, where would this one belong? It's got big flat plates over the wheels. It has a canvas exterior with snaps. I guess you throw it in the wash. You don't have to wash the car. You just throw it in the what do you call it? Washing machine. Gee whiz, that looks like an alligator faux interior. This has to be one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen. But I appreciate the, here's the exhaust. Oh heavens. This goes into What Were You Thinking book. 1999, Lapine Agile. Oh goodness gracious. Well, you know the term, money, but no taste. I'll leave it at that. Now, this is the one, the aluminum polish guy is going to be happy that you have one of these, because look at all that bright aluminum, like an Airstream camper. And I've tried to keep aluminum shiny like this. It's a heck of a chore. A neat looking car though. Giant speedometer. Another Art Deco looking steering wheel. Same with the dash. And just simple. This one looks like a work in progress over here. 1946 Houston Rocket. All right. They opened a small body shop, Coachcraft, and began custom body for movie stars and wealthy locals. Oh man, they wanted to sell this for $1,000. They wanted to have an aerodynamic shape, no projections anywhere, headlights covered, taillights covered, Ford flathead in it. Interesting. They depleted their money before it was finished. It was stayed in the showroom until auction in '59 to a used dealership for $650. And Coachcraft stayed in business till '66. Interesting. All right. Now there's the tail lamps. Everything is built into the body. Once again, neat concept. But in reality, didn't work out too well. I like this wood car. Looks like a piece of art, doesn't it? It looks like it drives like a bus, steering going straight to the floor. Look at all the room for your knees over there. Once again, it's plated and ready to go on the road. It's so neat that he has all these operational. Even this one has a motorcycle plate. What's neat about this one, for those pilots out there, it has aircraft gauges in it as well. You've got an airspeed indicator up top, so knots, oil pressure, fuel pressure, and then load meters, but no altimeter, thankfully. Look how you steer it. You see, have this, or brake it, I should say, a little rod. Mechanical cable. And then your headlights, for aerodynamics, they have to fold in, right? So they do when they have a cover. The gyroscope car. All right, we're gonna cross over here. I like to sit on scoops and walking behind somebody's picture taking. Pay attention, Ed. Another little boxy Honda. And now we have the row of Fiats. Oh, I digress. I said I'd mention the planes and stuff. Some type of gyro-looking aircraft, semi-helicopter, some smaller planes with very large wings. Two of them are similar there. Didn't show you that. And a lot more Fiats all in this area. Let me see if I can find a picture of the bread factory, because this is all part of the bread factory over here. They had the break rooms, your office is up here, and it shows how some of the conveyors were running out here to the trucking shipping area. A lot of it's still here. So let's walk out towards the front, and I'm going to take you to the back to the landing craft. Let's see if I can find my brother again. He's around here somewhere. But the landing craft is out back. We'll take a look at that next. Really neat. Kevin, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind being on video?
Prefer not to.
Okay. How long has the place been open?
November 1st, 2003.
November 1st, when?
2003.
2003. Okay.
20-ish years.
Wow, that's quite a while.
Yeah, we'll be celebrating 20 years in 2 months.
All right.
So, yeah.
Nice. It's a great collection. So I see a lot of European, a lot of micro cars here. I imagine there's other vehicles he turns and rotates through the...
Yeah, so we have about 540 something cars.
And this represents how many of those cars?
About 100 to 120.
So this is like 20% of the collection.
Something like that.
Wow.
Downstairs in the vault, we have another 320 or so cars and bikes and motorcycles and just kind of whatever else.
All on property.
Yep, and then we have another building on the back, which is not open to the public at all. Where we house another about 90 or so cars.
Yeah.
So,
but the vault is not open to the public either, right?
only through special tours. We do a
okay.
11:30 and 2 o'clock guided tour on the weekends only.
Okay, got it.
So we have another one coming up here in a few minutes. You're welcome to join if you want to.
Oh, okay.
It's 5 minutes, but it's about a 45-minute guided tour. It's not free to walk around because it is a work area. It's where we service the
Gotcha.
cars.
Okay, got it. All right, and where do they meet up here?
Well, you get your tickets at the front desk.
Okay.
It's extra $10 per person, and then we meet right here.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right, and that's at what time?
11 o'clock.
Oh, it's 11.
Or 11:30, I mean. excuse me.
11:30. Okay, got it. All right, thank you, Kevin.
Of course.
Let me see if Mark wants to do that vault tour. I wouldn't mind going down there and seeing. Mark, do you want to do the vault tour down below? In 5 minutes? It's another $10 if you want to do it.
Yeah.
I'd like to go down there.
Yeah.
He said they have over 500 cars. This is just about
Yeah.
100 and something of them.
Yeah.
I'd like to go down there and take a look-see.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So we have 3 people here. If anybody wants to see the vault tour, I think we're going to do that. Are we allowed to film there as well?
You can?
You can? Okay. Okay. All right. There's a little observation post. I'll just show it from the inside for now. It was. Pardon me, mind if I take a picture of this real quick? No, you're good, good. There it is, American bread of it, in the inside of it. Actually did pull it. All right, there's a good spot up here where you can see the vehicle outside. So we'll just buzz over there and go downstairs in the vault. All right. Thanks, Kay. Thanks for stopping by. You're always there for us. I appreciate that. You have a wonderful Sunday. We'll catch up with you. Hope to share Disney with you when we're there next week as well. Zip, you're still here? Haven't bored you yet? All right. Right outside here, there's a whole video on the process of getting this thing up the river and over here. Oops, went the wrong side. There you go. That's quite a ride there, isn't it? There. Look at the size of that thing. We'll have to go out there and look at it. But you can see it's got gates on the front. It's like tanks and stuff like that. And it came in through the river, via the river. Then they drove it downtown through Nashville to get it here. This thing's massive. It's the biggest thing here, no doubt. But a lot of nice motorcycles in here. Yep, you're still here, Zip. We're gonna take you downstairs in the vault. I've never been down there. My brother's never been down there. That's kind of neat looking, isn't it? Huh. Okay. Is this the museum tour? Yeah, I guess it is, the vault tour. You know, Kevin prefers not to be on video, so I'll try not to feature him the whole time. Got it set up? Okay. It's like I get my Oogie Boogie Bash wristband. Oh man, you got my hairs and everything on that one, dude.
Perfect.
Jeez, that's tight. That's gonna be fun to take off.
Sure problem.
Well done. Did you do that on purpose?
Sure
You
problem.
did it on purpose. Zip, you know how brothers are. What is I missed. When did he say he's gonna get on here? Is he doing it? Kevin doing it?
I think so.
Okay. Where's the pictures of the folks working in the bread factory?
I think it's a video you gotta watch on that.
Oh, it's on a video? Okay. I remember seeing pictures. This is Jeff Lane. All right, we'll get started here in a minute. Start your tour here in the theater. Oh, there's a theater in here? It's inside that room. Okay. I can't say that I watched that last time either. It's a big place. So this is the American Bread Factory.
Yeah.
Hey Jeff, is it alright if I do video?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw your elite a couple of weeks ago at the Lotus gathering.
Okay, yeah.
You guys took away the big prize, huh? Did you get? Nice of you to do that.
All right, Doug.
I think it was the only one.
It was the only elite, and it's funny. When I was there, and I came up to me from the local area, and he said, "Drive my meat."
This is a good view, pretty much, of the overall presentation in here.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a spring elite.
Okay.
And I live up in New York State.
Pretty busy place, really. You know, between the car clubs that have showed up to meet here today and just visitors.
Get back.
Good to see.
Yeah, V8's not there.
Before you can't move your leg around. Yeah.
And people visiting, marking where they're from. Jeez. That's pretty full, isn't it? Let's put our pin. Where we're from. Oh goodness, everybody's from Austin. How do we do that? Yeah, we want to put it right there. Close enough. There. We marked our spot. All right. Eventually, I got to get back on the road here. But I won't get to do this too terribly often. It's gonna be a busy week this week, and then we actually have rain in Texas, which is nice. Quite a difference for the past 4 months. Maybe we'll actually get some of the grass to turn green before it dies. Yep. So we'll see. Oh yeah. You want your phone back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why the chat drops off of here. If I go and start the chat widget again, maybe. Only one chat widget can be applied. Yeah. But it does. Prism does that. I'm sure there's something I'm not doing right. Okay. Oh, fill out our guest registration. I see a lot of Chicago, somebody from England, another person from England, Indiana, Maryland, Illinois. We're gonna put good old Texas on here. There we go.
Sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of confusion with the somebody because they had against us. But yeah, my name is Kevin. Again, you we head downstairs, some things to go over. We're downstairs. I think are you? Do you hear downstairs, please. And we're downstairs. Welcome to the service area. We work on maintaining. So please stay on your own. Break that rule every now and then. That's just for your safety. Listed in the box. There's a total of 525 cars so there's a very good chance I can answer your questions. All the cars are seen on the
All right, we'll get going here.
It's all on the website. Yeah, ask for questions, photographs you like. The way the tour will work, it's different for everybody who gives tours, but the way my tours work is I go downstairs and we do a full day museum very briefly. We'll walk around and some cars that you guys will enjoy. I like race cars, but I also when I are racing enthusiasts, they're not here for us, but cars are significant cultural history or war, because of really good cars. So hopefully it'll have some that piece you guys will have some from the
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming.
So with that in mind, we're gonna head downstairs, and the last person just please close all the gate behind you. Just close it.
All right, I'll do it. I'll sit. Go ahead. I'll be D. I'll be DAL.
Good guys. Good morning. How are you, brother?
Hi. Special dough operations. Play-Doh. Crack myself up. It smells good in here. A lot of red cars.
What cars come in out of the collection is up to him and our curator, Derek. They oversee all that.
A lot of cars in here.
Most of those cars are still here. There's originally about 80 to 90 cars, and they were scattered all over properties around Nashville and some up in Detroit. And so we should figure out a place to we acquired the building, did a couple of year restoration on it. We actually have historical architecture because we actually
Bikes from the ceiling.
go upstairs, all the brickwork, the woodwork, everything is original to the factory floor as it was. In fact, if you walk on the interior outside wall, that makes sense. Walk on that wall outside, you'll see pictures of how this factory is set up and people are actually working here. And there's some pictures where you see big conveyor belts that are running lengthways across the entire building. It's a pretty cool thing to see. I've also given a lot of tours where people used to actually work here, or they'd come here when they were kids and they'd give you a little hat. Some of you and you got tours inside. So we took all their stuff out. We had to repair the roof in one area. Down here, this area was actually just for storage of all their packaging, their canned goods, things like that, their labels, and just a bunch of machinery. We took all that out. These yellow lines, which are the guidelines for us, so we'll stay inside these lines all the time unless I let you guys know it's okay. These lines were actually where the forklifts used to drive through, and it worked out for us because it kind of helps us put our cars behind it and keep things preserved. Cars are color coded because it's actually just easier to find cars that way. When you get to about 500 plus cars, there used to not really be any rhyme or reasons of where cars were stored. They were just kind of running here, and that was it. Then it just became too difficult to find things, so we opened it up now. Color coded cars. So now, if you come here and you're a journalist and you want to write a review on a 1964 Mini Cooper, we know that our Mini Cooper is we know it's maroon. You just go right over there and you can see it in the red section. So this is primarily storage on this side. Over here, you guys must have some staff wood. You can cross it, but you guys just have the yellow line there too. That's totally fine. You just have to cross that yellow line if you want to do so. That garage where the pet boys are about when maybe that might do is take an engine out and try to work with it. And a little bit of love can usually be driven on the public roads out any concern. We generally say about 9 selection runs. All you gotta do is come down to the ball with the key in the car, and it should just drive right off. Now these guys have been restoring cars, have been in life, and so they'll come in. They just knows it so well. So I can't take you back to this kind of staff road. They couldn't figure out how to separate all this.
The transmission's working down here.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, I do remind you of this because if you have multiple, you guys went online. Those seats are folded completely flat into the bodywork.
Yep.
So they sit.
Yeah.
We have several of them actually.
They're neat cars.
They're really, yeah, they are really cool cars. So we're gonna head this way.
This is neat looking. The sled.
So you'll see a collection of propeller powered vehicles over here. People have been trying to put propellers on anything that moves for the longest time.
So it's a
I think
sled,
the most successful
aero sled.
Applications are sitting right here, these first two.
Kitchen chairs.
Bam, so you can see it. The Dragonfly
Throttle.
right here, the ice sled, and then the aero sled are the most successful application of an aero vehicle because these, as the name implies, these would go over frozen lakes and frozen rivers.
Huh.
That's where this little skid comes into place right here. Ice, as we know, is very slippery, so it makes perfect sense to try to propel something with a propeller on ice. Where it starts to get more difficult with propeller vehicles when you start trying to move cars with them, especially bikes too, because you have to overcome rolling resistance, and that really impedes how much thrust and forward momentum you have with a propeller vehicle. So you start to kind of go from good to bad to scary in terms of
The whole white scarf motif only works for a moment.
do it.
The whole white scarf motif flowing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So me and another guy, we have a joke here because some of these you actually have to hand crank. And we have a joke that we say personally, but if you ever want to lose a few fingers, you're tired of having all your fingers, you want to lose a few, try to hand crank one of these and put your hand back as quick as possible. It's a great way to lose some fingers.
Reagan hand cranks airplanes. Yeah.
But
Cool.
France
Goes up to the prop and just swings it.
their vehicles. Museums, you'll see a lot of layout propeller powered vehicles or replicas of them. In fact, the Grand Tour, if you guys have watched the Grand Tour, they actually did an episode recently where they were talking about weird French cars, and Richard Hammond drove a layout like this, but had a full like cabin too, and everything. It's a blue one.
Could be. Look at some instrument. Cooling. Intake. Beautiful sculpture.
All kinds of cars down here. My goodness.
But I don't know for sure. Our website will tell you. Right here, Charles Taylor's single wheel gyroscopic sub-thousand tractor. That is a total mouthful. It's basically a unicycle that never falls over. And you don't balance it. What he was trying to build was a series of full-size trucks, and the idea was that he was going to replace horses and donkeys that were used to carry heavy material outside of the mountain to help build construction projects in remote areas. If you're building a radar tower or a radio station in a very high mountainous area, then the only way to access it is through.
That's pretty neat.
A lot of 4x4s that were too wide or too big and couldn't pull that material to the mountains. And the idea was that if you can build a series of trucks and tractors that were the same width as a horse, and only use one wheel.
And that's radial engine too.
Run right over, whereas before you could cut the tree up and move it out of the way, put the log out of the way. Whereas this, you can just run right over it because it's a wheel stabilizer. You can just hit that log, let it restabilize, roll up, let it restabilize, and roll it and keep going. Brilliant guy. He built 4 of these. This is the 4th one. It was never finished. If you want to see his 3 running prototypes, he destroyed them. He's like most essential inventors. He had some quirks too, and you don't think he's still any of his patents. But if you want to see them running, somebody actually found old archival footage of him testing them on his farm, film footage, and they ripped it and put it onto YouTube. So you just go on YouTube, look at Charles Taylor gyro tractor. You can see him testing his tractor off and talking to reporters. And it was said that his gyroscopes, they were so efficient. This is one of his early gyroscopes. That for 30 minutes, while he was talking to the reporter, he cut the engine off, and for 30 minutes with no effort from him, no kickstands, no training wheels, nothing. It sat on just one wheel and just kind of rocked itself back and forth. Gyroscopes, if you don't know how they work, the simplest term is that think of it as a disc. On one point of the disc is it's a heavier weight, so every time it spins, it throws itself back up on axis because that weight is being slung around constantly. Kind of like gravity that works. Same thing here. But yeah, see that's me just putting my own hand on it. You put this up to a motor had it running, 30 minutes they said that it was self-stabilizing. The YouTube video is really cool too because if you watch it, he goes through a series of slaloms and S-turns. He shows off how his tractor, you don't turn a wheel, you actually kind of lean it and pivot it like a motorcycle. And then when you're done turning, you sit upright and the whole thing will upright itself. Pretty crazy. If you guys want to sit across the yellow line on this side, you peek inside the Citroen C6 right here. This is a luxury car out of France. This was a car that was meant to go up against the 6 Series and the C-Class cars. It's got a great rear window. I love this rear window. The color is great. It doesn't really have a shine to it, but when you get out in the sun, you kind of see it there. It's got this kind of winish color to it. So it's a really pretty car, very beautiful interior. So peek inside it, it's one of the most comfortable cars in the world to drive. It's got an air suspension in it, so when you drive it, you get a pothole here in Nashville, which I'm sure you guys get quite a few. You don't feel a thing in this vehicle. It is so comfortable. Yeah, feel free to peek inside it. Very cool car.
Are they available for import or no?
2006, is that 25 years old?
No, not yet.
Probably not. I do graphic design in the US for the
Not yet.
Yeah,
I'm not a person, but
that is a neat rear window though.
soon it will be, but not in the next couple
Yeah.
years. Isn't it 2000, 1997? Yeah, a little bit.
Kind of like JDM imports, you have to wait until it becomes a classic.
Here, a few things I want to point out. You're going to see
Yeah, Citroen over
brown
there.
section that you can clearly see. There's a very brown on brown Jaguar XKE back there. That is not an E-Type, it's an XKE. That's a 6-cylinder
That could be a
Jaguar. It's an
W.
American one. Over here on this pillar, where this fire extinguisher is and the red line, you see this tie rack. Behind it, I'm going to push it out a little bit. Please don't go past this. This line will be imaginary once I remove it.
Okay.
Please don't go past it. But I want to point this car because we just got this car. And it's, some of you may know what it is.
Looks like an Abarth, is it?
Nope. This is a Puma GT.
Oh.
This is a Brazilian.
Oh, it's a Puma.
It's a Puma.
Right.
And so this is a manufacturer in Brazil. They made cars with fiberglass bodies, and they use a lot of components from VWs. Sometimes they use GM components and Opel components. Opel is a German manufacturer. But the Puma GT, they were based off Beetles. So it's a retuned and heavily modified Beetle, everything, and they put this fiberglass sort of lightweight body on top of it. So a very cool car, very limited, very sporty and quick. But you right here, BMW Bavaria. This is actually a pretty much original car. It looks really great when you're standing far away, but when you get closer, you can see that the paint's kind of fading out. But besides that, it's pretty much an original car. We've done nothing to it.
There's a pretty little car in it. Little Citroen. Oops.
What's the color designation for this? It's not for color.
I don't know for sure. I actually know more about the other number than we have since this one.
Look at this thing.
A little too before.
Holy cow. That is boxing.
Yeah, that's why I work
Look
here.
at the back of it.
So we can drive with it.
The name
Oh
of
my
that,
goodness.
E-type color is
See it? I like.
Another nice little Saab. Boy, that thing, that Citroen's crazy looking, isn't it?
Cooper is one of the most iconic cars. in the world.
Saab.
Good car show, it's a micro car. People heard of it. But this one is really cool though because this is an Innocenti, which was an Italian manufacturer that would take minis and do modifications and they kind of sold them as a luxury vehicle. So I can tell you driving the Mini Coopers, just the various versions of it, it's kind of the same Mini Cooper. I don't know what the luxury really is, but they're all kind of the same.
It's got bright lights.
It's very cool. Like I think it's one of the coolest looking Mini Coopers we have here. But right here, Mercedes 138, one of our very few Mercedes in the collection. This one is actually really special because not this particular car, but this model is because there's two tandems I'm going to go on here for two different stores. This is one of my longest stories here, but I want to give credit where it's due because the history behind this is amazing. So this is what I personally call a Maybug car. Maybug is not an official term, it's just something that I personally call it. You'll understand what I'm talking about in just a minute, but this was a car that was meant to be a people's car in Germany. So the term Volkswagen is people's car. We know that today. John Volkswagen's not a person. John Volkswagen didn't exist and they got to make the Beetle. it was a term, people's car. And so this was Mercedes' attempt at making a people's car. There was a huge demand in Germany for these cars during going up to World War II when Hitler was in power. He encouraged his engineers to create people's cars, to mobilize Germany, and to get people moving. The idea was that these cars would be light, they'd be affordable, and they'd be easy to work on, and very fuel efficient. You could put a family of 4 inside it. Those were all the requirements. And so all these manufacturers, they were making cars that were kind of like the early VW Beetle. That's where you get this shape from. If you slant this hood, this is almost a VW Beetle. In fact, if you look back at a lot of the early Maybach cars, they all kind of look like the VW Beetle. That's because they all come from a car called the Maybach. That's one of Hitler's favorite cars. But the Maybach looks kind of like this, but take that rear seat out and scoot the butt up. It was a little 2-seater car. And so Hitler, he loved that car, but he was like, please make this a 4-seater for a family. And so a lot of manufacturers did that. Panamag, all these different manufacturers, they had their own version of the Beetle, basically. And so this was Mercedes. The dark twist of the story is that the Maybach, part of the engineering of that car comes from a guy named Joseph Gons. We credit Ferdinand Porsche with the VW Beetle story today, but that's not exactly true. This came to light a few years ago, and we actually did a whole exhibition on this to share the story that VW historians found out. Joseph Gons engineered the early Maybach cars and was a huge advocate of Hitler. We have to have a cheap and affordable car for the masses. And so Hitler loved that idea. Hitler didn't like that he was Jewish. So Nazi Party stole all his patents, gave them to Ferdinand Porsche and his team, and ran Joseph Gons out of the country. Joseph Gons would end up dying innocent broke in Australia, having no recognition for his work at all for the VW Beetle's development, and the Nazis got all the credit. That was the very quick, we only have like a 45-minute tour. Let's keep moving spiel. There is a 2-hour free documentary on Joseph Gons' moral website called Joseph Gons, Gons G-A-N-Z, How My Beetle Was Stolen. We talked about the history of the VW Beetle and how the Nazis stole his patents. Now where Mercedes came into place and where this car comes into play is that this was their attempt at it. And this car was so poorly received by the public, Mercedes decided after this car that they would no longer make entry-level vehicles for the market. They would only make high-end and luxury cars. So this was their attempt to make the Honda Civic, and they decided after this car, we cannot make the Honda Civic. We are not equipped to make it. So
What's the engine in this car, if you don't mind asking?
it's a little 2-cylinder Pose engine. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's close enough, thank you.
Are those trafficators?
Yeah, little turnstops.
Yeah.
Amphicar car? Looks like an Amphicar car. Oh, it looks like an Amphicar car, doesn't it? No, it's not an Amphicar car. It doesn't have a prop or anything. Like a Julia? Or a Gia? Whatever they call them.
So right here we have a Saab 96 Roadster. This Saab is actually extremely rare because it's the only Saab 96 Roadster to ever leave the factories. A couple of guys at Saab, the engineers, they thought this car would be a great candidate to turn into convertible. So they took a few cars off the assembly line and sent it to a coach building company, and they told them just make a proof of concept conversion. We want to sell the idea of the convertible to the executives. So they took a few cars off the assembly line, the coach building company did a conversion, brought the car back to Saab, and the engineers took it to the executives, and they said, no, we are never going to sell this car for several reasons. The main one is that you guys may not have heard or you may not remember, but 60s and 70s, Saab really advertised the strength of their roofs, saying that this was one of the safest cars on the road. If you flip this car, you're going to be safe. And so they took off the roof of the car, which was the one of the main selling points. Another thing is that the Saab executives didn't think there was enough demand for this car to justify making whole new body stamps that were for convertibles. And they didn't want to re-engineer the entire floor pan and make it structurally safe. So they killed this car off as soon as it came in front of their eyes. So in terms of being an actual true roadster, this is the only one that Saab ever left the factory. I'm sure you go to a Saab car meet, you can see somebody who's made a conversion, but in terms of being on paperwork, this is the only Saab 96 roadster to ever leave the factory. Right here, Steyr 220. If you guys look up across the yellow line and look inside, or look up here at the interior, at the grill and everything, this is a Steyr 220. And if you guys don't know what Steyr is, their logo right here, their badge is a good identifier of what they actually are known for.
Microphones.
Microphones. I was going to say guns.
I was too.
But I like where you were going. So primarily Steyr in the world is known for their guns.
Yeah.
And their military equipment. I don't know if they're still in business today. If they are, I know they were a few years ago. They were making big military vehicles. But through the 30s, they made cars, little Sire 220. This car is actually a national celebrity because this car was actually owned by country music star George Jones. He drove this car for a number of years up until his divorce with Tammy Wynette. And to keep this car out of that divorce, he sold it to his music producer Billy Sherrill. And then Billy Sherrill drove this car for a number of years until he passed away, and then his widow donated the car to us. So we took it in. So it's kind of a cool thing because you wouldn't think of a country music star in the U.S. to drive a really obscure German car, a Steyr 220. You would think that he would probably drive something like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or this or that. Which was a very rare car in its own right.
The Steyr is the rifle I have with the largest caliber. Yeah, it's painful to shoot. So we walk by and there's plenty of other. Look at that motorcycle's front fender. I'm gonna buy all these cars here already. Obviously, this is the collection of white cars over here.
You guys want something off the yellow line here? Right here, we have a DeLar IndyCar. I have a quick question for you guys. Is anybody have a birthday coming up? Any
Yep.
birthdays? Any birthdays coming up?
November.
Do you have one?
28th.
What is yours?
September 28th.
28th. Oh, happy your early birthday.
Yep.
Mine was the 13th, so mine's away.
You're coming up too.
The reason why I'm asking for birthdays is because this is for sale. So if you need any last minute birthday present ideas,
We say let them fit.
That'll look good next to the Model T.
it's also not illegal and it takes a lot of effort to get it going, but it is for sale if you want a DeLar IndyCar.
What's, oh, okay, to go out.
Yep, DeLar IndyCar. Tip of Buick, or no, the Aurora V8 in it. So extremely high strung motor. This one is. Takes a lot of work to get it going.
How much you need?
It's very fast. 200. I think it's 250,000.
How much
Oh,
RPM does it
I
have?
don't have that with me.
I don't know. I assume this one is very high.
Are questions okay? I really don't want to bug you.
All right, we're gonna center the gimbal. Hold on. Maybe. No, it's not centering.
Is it on? Is it past these pillars?
There we go.
Can you actually give me the other side? Is that what I need to see?
Oh no, it's not past the red. It's just this side.
Well, it's, yeah, it's just what I'm saying. Like it's in.
What is that? It looks like it's got lips right there. It wants to kiss you. What the heck is that? That looks like a newer or a repro.
You see our big amphibious aircraft. It's our bark fighter.
Look at this Honda.
It's a Vietnam era military vehicle. It was used to
Jeez.
carry heavy military equipment off a boat or car.
All right, come back around.
A beachhead or a naval dock of some sort. It's not really meant for a
Oh,
troop transport.
there's that landing vehicle.
It's really meant like disassembled helicopters and like that. They're going to be reassembled later. That's kind of what it's meant for. It does run drive. And it does have one of the accolades of being one of the very few vehicles we bought off eBay, believe it or not.
You got it out off eBay?
We got it off eBay from a
Holy cow.
military decommissioning yard down in Florida. Had it tugged all the way around the coast of Florida up the Cumberland water system, where we had to try to pick it up in Nashville harbor. And we got a crane to try to pick it up, and that crane was starting to
Tip over.
tip over, struggle. It was struggling a lot with it, so we actually get another bigger crane. Pounds, can hold 100,000 pounds. It's got one motor on each wheel. Each wheel can spin or turn independently, and it's a Detroit 8-cylinder motor on each wheel. And we had to sit and drive for about a month. Where our head mechanic of the restoration shop, he actually went through the whole vehicle and got it running and driving. Then we drove it from downtown Nashville to here. So if you guys are visiting and you're not familiar with Nashville, if you've been to the Country Hall of Fame, Bridgestone Arena, and the Convention Center, we drove it down to Mummy Street to get that here. So it is a massive vehicle. I don't ever want to drive it because you sit in the very back of the top of it, and you have spotters on pretty much each corner telling you how close you are to things. The video of us driving here is upstairs in this wing where the motorcycles are.
You also made the news, you know?
I did.
Yeah.
We made a lot of commotion around, I think it was 12 o'clock, 11 to 12 at night. It only goes like 5 miles an hour on land. If you guys want to see it,
Model T.
walk around. You haven't discovered yet, we have a little side road where our front parking lot connects to. You can actually drive around and then park your car next to it. You can't climb inside it because it is a tetanus nightmare, but if you want to walk around, Please don't touch it like he's doing. That's an example of what not to do. But if you guys want to, you can step underneath and look at the big propellers in the back. These big 4-foot propellers. It's kind of an imposing thing. It's a really cool thing to see. There's a lot of photos that we take at the museum of like the Mini Coopers next to it, just for fun. So you can probably find a handful of those on our website.
There's the best car in here. Yeah, heck yeah. That's right.
We finally caved in our multi. But I'm not going to talk about multi because it's American safely. I'm sure you guys will tell me more about multi than I can tell you.
You've got a video on where you can do your mark.
It's in pretty good shape too.
Yep, we used to call summer crush where we used to run over scrap cars, football helmets, watermelons, things like that, just for fun. And then we stopped crushing cars with it because the A pillar of a car, A, B, and C, the A pillar of a car went through our front left tire and blew out a 25mm hole in it. So we tried finding spare tires for that thing. It took us 4 years.
Not gonna get that discount that.
No, not at all. Because the problem is we can find tires. People had so many spares, but they wanted everything they had. They had like 18 tires and 5 motors and body panels. We're a car museum. We're not invading it. We don't need all this. You just need tires to get our gun on. Here, Skoda Octavia. The U.S. pronunciation would be Skoda, but it's actually called Skoda. This Octavia is actually a completely original car as well. This was a car that was brought over by a Czech couple. They immigrated here. They both had matching Octavias, and only the husband ever drove his car. This one just sat in the garage for many years until we eventually got it. You can tell it's got signs of being a daily driver, but it's extremely low mileage. I think it's less than 15,000 miles on it. But pretty much original Skoda. Most of those Octavias did not get that treatment. They're mostly driven to the ground, and then that was it. So in the back over here,
Look at the entrance of that vehicle.
I'm not going to try to talk you into buying one. But we do sometimes sell cars, and usually the reason why we sell cars, we call it de-assessing, is just because we have too many of the same type of car, or the collection shifted, and the car no longer fits the collection. So for a good example of that is, right here in the very front is blue and white multiple band right here. We talked about one at the very beginning of the room. This one we got a couple of years ago. I think it was donated to us. And it's extremely nice. It's a really, really nice band. We just don't need to it. We have one already. So we're letting that one go. We have a very, very nice and very rarely option Corvair wagon in the back. Blue on blue with factory Lincoln, which is an extremely rare option. We already have the Corvair Waimea upstairs, so we don't really need that Corvair. So we usually sell cars because we just have too many of them of the same type of car, or it no longer really fits the collection anymore. If you want to see the cars for sale, if you go to our collections tab and you scroll over it, at the very bottom is the cars for sale page, and then you can see there's paragraphs of the car's description, and then there's photos.
All right, so they do sell some of the cars when they have duplicates.
But I'm not going to say the car. Not what I do.
Well, that's a nice Mercedes. That's a nice car.
Right here, we know Alpine A110. This is a remake of their original rally car.
These things are solid.
Rally car that was very successful in rally racing. And it's not Alpina, which you may have heard before, it's Alpine. Alpina was the German manufacturer. Alpine is a French manufacturer. And originally Alpine, they were a racing company. There was a couple guys that used to race a lot of French vehicles. And they eventually would be bought out by Renault, the company would, and they would end up using it as like the sort of Nismo or AMG, sort of their high-end tuning division. So this is their Alpine A110. It uses a Ford EcoBoost. I think it's a 4-cylinder in the back of it. So it's not a lot of power, but it's kind of the whole philosophy of these cars. They're very lightweight, they got a very high revving, happy motor, and they're very quick and nimble little cars.
Well, and there's now, I believe, an Alpine racing team in Formula 1, is there not?
Yes, there is, exactly.
Does it have paddle shifters?
It does. I think you can drive it without paddle shifters too. I think you can set it to where it drives like an automatic. This right here, hobby car, if you guys want to, you can take turns walking along this pillar. Please don't go past the Lloyd van here, but you can peek over the side of this van, or this hobby car right here and look at it if you want to do so. I'm going to tell you a story about this vehicle, and the only reason I'm telling you this story is because
Is it amphibious? 4-seater.
it is on the news, and you can go on YouTube and find videos of it. So this vehicle right here, this is a French vehicle. it's a sort of a luxury vehicle, so it's kind of for market people who want to buy vehicles to take out on lakes, maybe your own private lake or boat, things like that. It's kind of a leisure craft. The way it works is you can drive straight into the water, flip a few switches, and then you just drive it with a little joystick in here.
Modern day Hamster car.
Yeah, exactly.
See-
This one made the news though. We had this event we do in the summer called Summer Crush, or excuse me, Summer Crush. That's a whole different story. We do a thing where we
It's got its boat
we have an event
tags.
in the summer where we take members out on the lake and we ferry them around in our amphibious vehicles. And so this one, the Amphicar, they go out and we ferry them around. It's fun too because when you first get there, if you're the very first amphibious car there, and you're the very first person to get in it, you get to get in the car and then you can experience it just driving straight off into the water. And so people who are unloading and loading their boats and they were freaking out because they just see a car driving into the water. They were speeding, but they were like, but then they get the idea, oh, it's amphibious, we pull off.
Here's an old Audi.
But this one made the news because a couple of years ago, I was working at the front desk covering for someone, and my phone was just going out and talking nonstop vibrating. I was like, what is going on? I'm covering the front desk, so I'm talking to people, and letting them in, doing the register stuff. And then my phone stops, and the main line starts ringing. And I'm like, okay, what's happening now? And then I pick it up, and it was one of my friends who was actually out on the lake day for this, and he was like, hey, get in touch with someone, get in touch with so-so, blah, blah. The hobby car sank. And I'm like, the what sank? And I pull my phone out, and the very first picture I see on my phone in my messages is just this much of the windscreen sticking out.
Yeah.
So underneath here, there's a bunch of expanding foam that after 30 years, it just deteriorated and kind of rotted away. And so my friend, he said that when he was the one in the sank, he said that you could just see it all pooling out of the car as it sank. So
The foam?
we recovered the car the next morning. Yep, the foam. Recovered the next, well, the dive team recovered the next morning for us. We restored the whole thing mechanically. We didn't do the body work because it's plastic and it's kind of a pain to restore plastic, but everything mechanically is restored, works fine. I know Jeff will be eager to get on the water again. I don't know how eager the restoration staff will be eager to let it go out again, but that's their battle, not mine. But yeah, our Harvey car made local news because it sank to the bottom of Percy Priest.
Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Exactly.
Not for the French.
It shows that we use our vehicles, so sometimes they sink.
Oh, a Sonnet. I haven't seen a Sonnet in a long time.
Is that another F1 car?
So that right there is a built-time race car. They actually
This is a soft Sonnet. It's all fiberglass.
It uses a
They're sports car.
CSX race motor in the back.
These headlamps are mechanical. There's a lever and you just pull it.
But it's not
They
like
pop
a
up.
2 mile an hour high-end Formula 1 car.
The wheelbase is too short for
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you're missing about 4 cylinders.
that. And 11 horsepower, right?
Remember Jonathan's car?
So in the back, there are motorcycles. Unfortunately, I could not talk to you about either motorcycle at all. It is
A lot of
Yes,
bikes.
A lot of bikes. I'm not able to help you out if you have any questions. I just don't have the background. If you have any questions, I'd be honored to try to answer those.
That's cool. You don't see those very often.
That is I think it's a British vehicle. It's one of our few, I think it's a Trojan.
Look at all the cars up
I think this is a Trojan, which is a British vehicle.
Some of the more the micro cars.
It is, yeah, Trojan. They are steel chassis, wooden body cars with leather wrapped around them, just a way to make cars more economically. World War II.
We're in the body. Yeah.
Yeah. Quick quiz, you guys ready to move up too close? What is this? Very difficult quiz. What do you think that is? It's the Monopoly car. This was a car that was built for an AT&T commercial, and after the commercial was done, the creative director, he just said, hey, can I have it? And they gave it to him, and then we acquired it from him. Underneath this Monopoly car is actually just an electric golf cart. This is all just fiberglass bodywork. But what's fun about this one is this one also became a little bit of a celebrity when we went to the Amelia Isle Concourse, which is a very prestigious concourse where a lot of people bring multi-million-dollar cars, and we took this one there, and we actually ended up winning People's Choice Award, which I think is great when an electric golf cart beat the Ferrari 250 GTO and Lamborghini Miura, the golf cart won.
Absolutely.
It shows that people still have a little bit of sense of humor. Morning, how you cars up and down on the back. We use this lift right here, this black lift.
Yeah, I have the chat widget on. I just now read Mark's phone. Yeah, it's on. Just doesn't like to work after a while. Don't know why. So I'm looking at Mark's phone to see if there's anybody here. Yeah, I bet there's lag under the cement roof here. Not surprised.
If you guys want to step across the yellow line here and stay in this little area, you have peek at this vehicle right here. This
I like how they put lights under the
is not actually
racking.
It doesn't have rockets. It doesn't go underwater. It doesn't fly. It does have a cool canopy, but it's actually not. It's built off a VW Fox, which was a sister car to VW Jetta, and this car uses a lot of different junkyard cars to build it. We think the inspiration for this car when it was built by a gentleman who lives in Alabama. He built this car. He was inspired by the Space Museum down in Alabama. So that's where it all comes from. But underneath here is just a VW Fox. That's all it is.
Oh, it has good air
The
conditioning.
dead giveaway is the economy VW steel wheels on the side.
Oh, la car. I don't remember those.
I saw real England Mini Cooper over there.
I remember seeing these on base, Robins Air Force Base in Georgia when I was a kid. The Renault.
We do American cars. We get asked a lot, like, where are your Go to Cars and Coffee. Honestly, just do that. Because that's not what we do. In fact, there's car museums, I think there's some here in Nashville too, or in Middle Tennessee that they're smaller, but they have stuff like that. We don't do that here. We like weird things, as you've noticed. And this is one of the king of weird. If you want to step in this bay right here, where I'm about to go in, you can look at the side of this vehicle. This car's got a really crazy profile to it. You can sit over the hill. This is a McQuay Streamliner. They built only 6
That's cool looking.
vehicles. Keep coming in. Just don't go past this pillar, that's all I ask. You guys can go as much as big as you want to be. And this vehicle was built by McQuay, who is an aircraft manufacturer. They produce things like engine bearings, con rods, piston rings, different components for aircraft, gauges, dials, all kinds of stuff. And so they built 6 of these vehicles, and they hired college students to drive them around the country and test them out. And what they would do is they would put a huge amount of miles on these vehicles. They drive like from Jacksonville, Florida to Tacoma, Washington. And they make this big road trip, and once they get there, they test all their equipment, they pull all their stuff out and go to a local convention.
So I guess this is the engine axis here.
Dissect their motor right there and pull out their bearings and say, look, here's our bearings. We just drove from here to here. Here's our piston rings, this and that. And you can see that our products are good and reliable. So it's a big marketing scheme, essentially. It'd be like if AutoZone actually made mechanical components today and they built a car and drove it across the country to show it off. That's kind of what this is.
It's really neat.
As of today, though, we don't know how many of the sister cars are left. As far as I know, this is one of one. The guys upstairs and who actually are the archivists, they only actually have ideas of maybe where another one might be, but from my knowledge personally, this is the only one that I know that exists of the original 6. And you see all these stickers on the side of it. This was driven in the Great Race in 2005, where it ran from Tacoma, Washington to Washington, D.C. Or excuse me, reverse that. Washington, D.C. to Tacoma, Washington. Went the whole way there, never skipped a beat. It's a really good
Awesome.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, though. It does get a little toasty in here. You get a lot of greenhouse.
No greenhouse effect?
Yeah.
Well, plus that's your engine, right? So is this like a 35 Ford
Exactly.
that it's built on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a flathead V8 in there. Pretty sound, reliable. Car. That one actually does run the water a lot and hasn't sank. I hope it doesn't. That's our info car.
They make about 4,000 of those, something like that.
Something like that. Very low number production.
Coming out of Germany.
Yep, exactly.
Disney has all of them now.
Yeah, they complain a lot about how difficult they are to keep going, which I think is fun to work hard with them. We have one big, they're a multi-million-dollar corporation. This is Karma. This was a car that was supposed to be a contemporary Ford Tesla, but got plagued by a ton of issues, and unfortunately, never became the car it was meant to be. I think it's a great looking car. If you're seeing a lot of design cues in it from certain cars that you might have in your head already.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and tell you that this car was designed and pinned. I forget his name, but he was the one who worked for Aston Martin through the 90s and then BMW early on in the 2000s, and then he pinned this car right here as well. So So you see a lot of BMW, a lot of Aston Martin kind of hodgepodge in this car.
Is that Ian Callum?
It might have been.
I think so. He was involved with his EV7 and DB9.
Yes, that era. So it was him.
Went on to Jaguar.
So he designed this car, but this car, it has a lot of problems because if you think about Teslas, you think of today like instant power, you can drive very fast, they're very quick cars in a straight line. And so this car is not that at all. It has a 200 horsepower EV drivetrain, so it's very sluggish. It's a very heavy car as well for 200 horsepower. And my personal complaint, and I've heard this complaint mirrored a lot, and it wasn't my influence, but the interior is very weird and not very ergonomic. It's kind of annoying to work with. I'm not a fan of driving this car because I don't know how to get it in drive. Usually I just want to turn the key and put it in drive or put it in first and go, but not this one. But what really killed
This is a cool looking car.
You cannot find replacement parts in there. The reason why is because I forget what year it was and what hurricane it was. But the hurricane hit the industrial complex where all these spare parts were stored at and wiped out almost all the spare parts. The second problem with this vehicle, what really hurts reputation, is that they had a small problem where if you left them on the sun too long, the batteries would overcharge and they sort of catch on fire and burn to the ground, which is not desirable for a car that you pay a lot of money for. And so a lot of these cars, they just have very tarnished condition because they caught on fire. So, neat car, but it's so much too smart for its own good, and it just didn't do it in this. Right over here we have the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. This was a Group A homologation car. The term homologation means
They actually rally across that little saw back there. That's interesting. Look at that.
That's 4 years in a row. And so to pay homage to him, they basically made his rally car into a streetable car, and they gave it these cool stripes, front bumper. It's got the same turbo setup as the Group A car. It's a very fast car. This car, there's a gentleman agreements in Japan where cars can only have a max of 265 horsepower. This was kind of a big middle finger to that. It made about 320. It was a very fast car. It's all-wheel drive, but it's a very smart all-wheel drive system. You can feel the car think as you drive it. But yeah, what makes this car really very special though is that it's a Japanese car, but
It's left-hand drive.
it's left-hand drive. This car, to pay homage to him, to Mackin, who was Finnish, they sold a bunch of cars in Finland and in Germany. This is a German export car. We actually, Aaron up there, one summer we were sitting kind of bored because it was, January and people in school, nobody's here. So we were trying to do research on it. We found this was like number 764 of 1,000 red cars that went to Germany.
Neat.
So it is a true Japanese domestic race car sold as left-hand drive for Germany. So it's an extremely rare version of an already very rare car.
Can I ask you a joke or question?
Yes.
Is that a Saab in the back wall from the Volvo historic racing series?
I don't know if it's from the Volvo, but it is a soft sonnet. It's a fixed headlight car.
Yeah. It's from the Volvo historic series. I recognize. I was a crew guy for.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's have on this side. Sure. This way. Just please don't go past the top. No. Peek at it. While he's looking at that, we'll talk about. So this right here is the last car we talked about. Oh wait, before we talk about this car, you had a question about a certain car over here.
It's a Packard? It's the smallest Packard I've ever seen. Huh?
No, that's a
Oh, I can't read.
French man.
Oh, okay.
So this right here is a fuel Trident. This is an iconic car. It's in a lot of video games. Jeremy Clarkson had this on his show a lot. And Talking to the boys made fun of this car and the Kill P50 a lot. This one is actually technically it's a replica or a reproduction because they stopped making cars in the 60s and 70s and then they kind of brought the company back. Started making new cars in the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man is a little tiny island north of Ireland, west of
That's where
UK.
they have a motorcycle
And so
race.
they build these cars using a mixture of fiberglass bodywork and motorcycle components. In fact, I had a couple of people last weekend come in and they could tell me exactly what every single motorcycle component, like where it came from what manufacturer. But these little vehicles, they're kind of a punching bag. It's not built for our American roads. It's not even built for a lot of European roads because it's not something you want to put on the Autobahn. It's really good for like a very small, like think of it like a gated community, that's like a hedgerow community. Very small, like tiny roads where you only go about 10 miles an hour at max. And that was kind of the idea. And the idea was that you could drive this around and go to work or go to the bar, whatever it may be, and not get rained on or this or that. And so these little three-wheelers, they kind of just became a laughing stock because they had the biggest flaw of all was that you can kind of see it back here. There's only one wheel back here and there's two in the front. So if you're driving around the roundabout going too fast and you cook it, what do you think happens?
You end up on your bubble.
Exactly. Well, you have a bubble, so what do you keep doing after that?
Keep rolling.
You keep going until you find the upright. So these cars, they became infamous for that. But again, they're not meant to be driven fast. They're kind of meant to be better than walking. That's kind of what the purpose is. But this is actually a vehicle that we do give rides in the summer as well. But when we do give rides, we always have to have another person. Like obviously, you have one person once you see the butt. If we are taking you out anywhere, being ready for a ride, it's two people in this vehicle because you run the risk of tipping over. Now, this little vehicle, I know it's in the Forza games. You see it on Top Gear, but we have two of them. We have this one, which is a 2013, and then we have the original 1960s one, which is upstairs.
Yep.
So if you haven't seen that one, you can go upstairs and see the 1961, and it looks identical to this. They haven't changed anything. So, but yeah, I'd be doing you guys a disservice if we didn't talk about a Peel Trident or any sort of Peel or microcar. Funky little cars.
It is.
So yeah, I think that'll wrap the tour unless you guys have any more questions.
And it's right next to this. Totally different car. It's just amazing how many manufacturers. You think Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Fiat, Porsche, BMW, the big companies, and then it's got all these other manufacturers that took a stab at the automotive market. Amazing. Just amazing. And this one looks like it has diapers on it on the canvas. That's cool.
Of course. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Well, you guys head back upstairs. If you're about to leave, make sure you guys check out the garage. On the right side of the garage inside, there's a raised platform with the micro cars. And in the very back of the garage, there's military vehicles. There's a service road that goes on the side of our building. And next to the back parking lot back there, you can see it that way as well. Cool. Thank you guys so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. On European non-standard type vehicles, some of them are standard, that you see, but not so much on the domestic side. So it's very unique in that respect. So that's going to wrap that up.
We have to walk into a cool garage. Okay, you ladies can stay here in the chauffeur will bring the limo out to you, okay? Okay.
So what did you think of the
We're in the cool garage.
the vault, Mark?
Well, it's cool. Good seeing more cars.
A lot of different cars. All right, well, I think we're gonna have to get back on the road trip. It's getting a little late in the day, and it'll be an hour time difference time when I get there. So let's wrap up. And these pop-ups. Shucks, can't see anything outside, it's so bright. Oh. There, all right. We'll put that in the background. That's gonna wrap it up from the Lane Motor Museum. Very unique collection. Neat reuse of this bread factory that's here in Nashville, Tennessee. Been here 20 years as a museum. Different cars, really not like, there's domestic cars in there, but it's heavy on the unique, a lot of European cars that we don't see very often. And it's interesting that everything up here, pretty much for the most part, runs and drives, and there were tags, plates on just about everything I saw, so that's kind of unique too. So nice to see the history preserved, reasonable price. I mean, I'm sure it costs a lot more just to keep it up and going and keeping the cars running. So if you want to come see some unique vehicles and you're in the Nashville, Tennessee area, it's definitely worth a stop. A lot of play area for the kids too, so it was a lot of fun. Thanks for Mark for sharing this with me, and I think I got to get back on the road and head to my destination on why I started this thing. And I appreciate the folks that stopped by, and Kay, Rob, Zip, I think Alyssa was here too. So thanks for stopping by. Those that are ninja watching, hope you had a good time. I know it got a little long in the vault, and I tried to be quiet a little bit. So, but anyway, that's the Lane Motor Museum. For now, it's Texas Takes. We'll be back in the action, our Disney action, which is our normal forte, next week. Staying up at Pagosa Springs, I think it is, next week. So instead of Swan and Dolphin, which is what we always do. So anyway, for now, it's Ed. Thanks for stopping by. Texas Takes. Take care, y'all.